Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards, back with you again. If you're new, welcome. Happy to have you here. This is where I read Lenormand and sometimes sort of season it with tarot to look at the issues of the day. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you for all the comments. I read them all, even though I can't respond to everything, but I read them all and I appreciate all of them. So thank you so much for that. Okay, few issues I thought I would look at today. Not in any particular order. A couple of them having to do with the Supreme Court. One having to do with the Pentagon. Um, all of them having to do with the government. So, first one, Brown is uh, the latest school to say no thank you to the felons' offer to give them preferential treatment in the disbursement of federal funds. All they have to do in order to get that special treatment is to agree to the government, the felon, deciding whom they can admit, deciding what they can teach, deciding who can teach what they decide that they can teach. I mean, so the two big name schools that have said no thank you are now Brown and MIT. Those are really flagship institutions. And I'm just curious, apparently my alma mater is still weighing things. Alan Garber, if you're watching, President Garber, I'm talking to you. They're weighing things. They're weighing whether and to what degree they want to make nice with the felon. I am hoping that that degree is zero, and I am hoping that Brown's decision and MIT's decision will put some more steel in the spine of Harvard and cause them to be added to the list of schools that say no, thank you. But, there are many schools out there, all of them, have been eligible in the past anyway for federal funding. So I just want to look at what this refusal to bend the knee, what effect that will have on the other schools. Again, hopefully it will give them courage. I'll let Spirit pick all the cards. So the question is, uh, what will MIT's and now Brown's decision to not take the felon up on his offer to receive preferential treatment in federal funding in return for, I don't know, pretty much ownership over their institutions? What will be the consequence of that? I'll pull three, and if I need more, I'll pull more. I'm going to pull a few more. Okay, so we have the clouds, we have the child, we have the heart, the mountain, and the stork. So, the fact that we've got the heart in the middle, academic institutions should be about educating people, freedom of inquiry, um, conversation, all of the things that we know higher education is supposed to do. For the love of that kind of academic freedom, that's what's at issue. We value that here in this country. First card being clouds is interesting because this is people saying, institutions saying, what do we do? We're confused. Clouds is about confusion. But that confusion, the more schools say, no, thank you, that confusion starts to clear up because the stork is about positive change. I can mirror this card with this card. So the confusion clears up and they see their way to doing what they will decide is the right thing. But I feel like, um, it's kind of going to be one by one, little by little, inch by inch, in very slow increments. They will make these decisions to say no to the felon, to block the felon from ownership over their institutions. So, I mean, I wish this card weren't here. I wish there were a card that implied that there will be this tsunami of schools saying to the felon, but I don't think that is what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a slow leak, but a leak in the right direction where people say no mas. Now, related to that is what's happened at the Pentagon. I'm sure you've seen that the Pentagon press corps was uh, told by Hegseth that they had to sign this pledge. And basically, the pledge was that if they reported things that Hegseth and company didn't like, and we're not talking about things like, disclosing secret information or anything like that. The press corps knows what they can and can't, um, report on. Obviously, they're professionals. But he wants them to sign this document saying that if they do anything that the felon and Hegseth don't like, they are they agree to be subject to criminal prosecution. I mean, who's going to agree to that? Well, apparently one organization did, and its own OWN, which is that, uber conservative Trumpy uh, press organization, and they were like, "We think everybody should sign it. These requirements are perfectly reasonable." No, they're not. How not reasonable are they? Every other news organization said, "No, thank you. We're not going to sign." And so, of course, they have their privileges confiscated, their badges confiscated, and they're locked out now of the Pentagon. This includes all of the news organizations that you could think of, plus Fox. And I think that on the one hand, it's unfortunate now that those people will not be in the room where it happens, so to speak, the press. On the other hand, I like to look at this glass half full, which is to say, when entities like universities and press corps, and the press, by the way, is called the fourth estate, sort of the fourth pillar really of government is a free press. So when that fourth estate says we are not on board for authoritarianism, that's really good. It means that the foundations of this authoritarian takeover are starting to shake in ways that they will find uncomfortable. So I wanted to look at this, first of all, what will be the consequences of the Pentagon press corps uh, choosing in favor of a free press over a authoritarian Trumpy press. How will that move the needle? So I think I'm going to let Spirit pick all these cards as well. And I think I'll pull a tarot card as well. I'll leave that here for the moment. Okay. And I just pulled from the majors. Okay, we have the garden, the felon, the child, the scythe, and the star. To me, this feels very, very optimistic. This is the people. The garden is the people. And this is the future of the people, the future of the country. The second card, of course, is the felon. But the fourth card to mirror it is the scythe. His authoritarian regime gets undercut because if you don't have a press that will cooperate, you can't take over a country. The press has to agree. And the Pentagon press corps has said, yeah, no, we're not doing this. So this is great. And then we have the child in the middle. Now, here, in this case, with this child in the middle, it feels to me like, again, it's a beginning, kind of like what we saw in the previous question. It's a beginning. People are starting to wake up, yawn, rub the sleep from their eyes, think about maybe the benefits of being woke, because it's nothing wrong with being woke. But again, inch by inch, entity by entity, organization by organization, they're starting to say, we are not going to participate in our own oppression. So it's going to happen with that scythe there. Um, I love the garden mirroring the star, but slowly, slowly. And this concerns me because it can't be too slow. Do you know what I mean? Uh, Things happen slowly and then all at once. Now I pulled yeah, I pulled a tarot card, and this is the Black Tarot, and it's the Hanged Man, which tells me it's kind of the same as the previous question. I think that, well, a couple of things about the hangman. First of all, this is about waiting, and there will be organizations, entities, companies, corporations that will continue to wait and see before acting themselves. That's one thing. But the other meaning of the hangman, which is a lot more positive, is that this is the card for a different perspective, seeing things in a new way. And I do think that that's what's happening. Every time someone refuses to bend the knee, this gives people an opportunity to say, "Oh, wait, we don't have to bend the knee. That's not like a requirement. Like we can choose to say no to tyranny." That's a new perspective. And I think, again, slowly, slowly, entity by entity, corporation by corporation, institution by institution, they will be falling away from him. Not the least of which reason, tariffs are problematic. The shutdown is problematic. He's winning more enemies than he is friends. So I think this new perspective card is great here, and I'm thrilled to see that. Okay, so I'm gonna shuffle these. This is my majors. And for those of you who are familiar more with obviously the traditional tarot, this is the Hanged Man. So it's waiting, but it's also a new perspective. So this is great. Uh, Put the Lenormand cards back and look at the next question. I'm very optimistic. Again, is it not good to have a sort of an information void at the Pentagon? No, that's not good. But do you really think that they're not going to be able to find out what's going on there? Do you not think that they're going to redouble their efforts to use their sources to find out what's going on there? They will. So um, be not afraid. Okay. Uh, So a judge just decided that the felon cannot cut jobs, federal jobs, which is what Russ Vogt wants to do, is, he's the Grim Reaper. The felon calls him the Grim Reaper. No pretense there. He's the Project 2025 guy that's the head of the budget office. And he's just been chomping at the bit to cut federal jobs and essentially destroy the government. The judge has just said, no, hold on, you can't do that. So what will the consequences of that be? Let's let Spirit take the wheel here and pick all of the cards. Will those people be fired anyway? Because we know that we are in the middle of a constitutional crisis for a zillion reasons, but certainly one of them is when a judge makes an order, gives an order, and then the felon and company decide to ignore the order. This has already happened. We are already at constitutional crisis level, but this is a ruling that was just handed down today. Um, Vote wanted to fire people instead of just furloughing them during this shutdown. And the judge said, yeah, nah, you can't do that, son. So what will happen next in that situation? And I'll pull another tarot card for that. Boy, this child card loves popping up, doesn't it? Okay, we have again the scythe. These would be the cuts um, of tons of people. But the judge has said you cannot do it. And then we have the child and we have the White House. I think they're going to try to do it anyway. I'm going to pull a clarifier for the coffin so we can see whose coffin exactly is that. Okay, so this is the card for endings. Uh, and why the reason I pull clarifiers on this is I'm thinking, well, endings of what? Like, is this ending people's jobs or is this ending, um, you know, is it the beginning of the end of this autocracy? I think that the fact that people don't have jobs is depressing, problematic. The fact that they've been furloughed, the fact that they would now be fired would be really, it would transform, because this is also the card of transformation, transform people's opinions, people who have still yet to wake the up and see where we are. These firings would cause a lot of pain, but, and I've said this before, okay, he will try to fire them anyway. They won't be brought back. That's what they'll do. This is not a bad thing. I'll tell you why. Stork is about positive change because it will cause more people to do like the Beyonce song and cause more people to get in formation. I have told you that when the revolution happens, you got to be surprised at who's on the right of you and who's on the left of you. People you will least expect. But if they try to do this anyway, after this judge has given this order, don't worry about it. Good. It will get everybody information. Make people mad enough to say, okay, we've had enough of this regime. Uh, I think that the occupant of the White House is just juvenile to try to say to vote, um, do it anyway. Now, he has always said, the felon, oh, when a judge gives an order, I obey the order. That's not true. It's another lie that he tells. So I think that he will order these jobs cut regardless. This is the White House. This is the cut. I think that it will start people talking, and I think he will be diminished in the eyes of whoever he still has some stature in, MAGA. And then we have the tarot card, which is the high priest. priestess, sorry, high priestess. This suggests to me that, and I wanted to show you, in case you don't know that card, um, this is the card in the regular traditional tarot. This is the card for um, secrets. So I'm sure Vogt has, more plans up his sleeve to get rid of people. But again, uh, I think this is just going to hasten the revolution. The more pain people feel, the more ready they're going to be to end this nightmare. And that's not a bad thing. So whatever secrets they're hiding, we should be aware of them, be aware of that fact. And you know, the court ruled the right way. That's the point. The court said you cannot fire people. You have to furlough them. Uh, okay. Speaking of the court, this morning, the Supreme Court heard arguments. This is about a case in Louisiana, and it's about redistricting of votes. And it's about the Voting Rights Act. And if the court rules in favor of the plaintiff being the felons bunch, the Voting Rights Act, Section 2 of it, would essentially be gutted. And what that means in a nutshell, is that one more time, uh, Black people would be disenfranchised when it comes to the vote. Now, they're not meant to actually take a vote on this, the Supreme Court. They just heard the arguments this morning. They're not going to take a vote on this until the new year, but the new year is in a couple of months. And the midterms are, let me check my running calendar. Huh. The midterms are 383 days away, which is to say that whatever decision the Supreme Court comes to will have an influence over how the midterms go. In other words, if the felon wins, Black people's votes will be the Black vote will be disenfranchised in the southern states, um, which could, I mean, could be really bad for our side because it could mean that we don't take the House or the Senate. So I listened to the arguments. The beer guzzling Kavanaugh, I heard his questioning of the parties, and I heard a little bit of Gorsuch, and I heard, I think, a little bit of Judge Jackson, and I heard the closing statement for the defendant, which would be our side. And common wisdom has it, people who listened, pundits who listened to the arguments in full, it seemed to be because of the questions that the justices were asking, that they are inclined to, I mean, is this a surprise? To say, yeah, let's gut it. Let's do that. Let's disenfranchise the Black vote. This is a skirmish. This is a battle. It's not the whole war, but it's not good news. So I would like to know, will the vote be disenfranchised? What will happen when the Supreme Court votes on whether or not to gut the Article 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which again disenfranchises Black voters? So I think I'll use a clarifier this time. I'll use the letter. and that will stand for the vote. I could use the birds for the court, but I'd rather use the letter for the vote. Okay. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, hyping, commenting, watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. So we are going to use the letter that will stand for the vote that the Supreme Court will be taking next year, which will absolutely have an effect on the midterm races. Okay, and I'll pull a tarot card too for that. And again, I'll pull for the majors. I'm using the black tarot. Okay. We have the tree, coffin, the letter, which stands for the Voting Rights Act, the tower, and the bouquet. I'm going to pull clarifiers, I think, before I talk about them and before I show you the tarot card, which I haven't even looked at yet. Um, I'll just pull one clarifier um, per card. All right. So we have the tree, coffin, the letter, the tower, and the bouquet. Uh, uh, love that bouquet, but is it for our side or their side? That's the question. This is the health of the Voting Rights Act because the tree is the card for health. Also, the Voting Rights Act has been in place since since Lyndon Johnson in the 60s. Uh, and we have the bouquet at the end of the line. So if I'm being optimistic, I would say, the health of the Voting Rights Act is good and it stays intact. But I'm not sure about that because the second card is the coffin. So, in other words, the health it ends, it becomes sick. This is the card for sickness. And I can mirror that with the fourth card, which is the tower. This is government. The current government wants to kill the Voting Rights Act. That's what they want. It looks like it could be a win for their side. I pulled it one card to clarify each of these original cards. So here's this long-term Voting Rights Act since the 60s, blocked, amended, essentially gutted because the mountain blocks it. Uh, I think this will cause great depression and sadness for the women on the court, excluding the handmaid. Um, Judge Jackson, Judge Sotomayor, Kagan. This is depressing for them. This is the Voting Rights Act, and this is those slick, slimy lawyers who have spent decades figuring out how they could dismantle this act to disenfranchise us. Us being Black people, Black voters. This is the current government. This is the court. And the court is on the side of the current government. So I think that the win will go to the bigots and that they will move forward with their mission. Now, what's interesting is the tarot card. So I'm going to find the tarot card on the regular, not the regular deck, the traditional deck, so I can hold it up with the one from the Black Tarot. It's not it. It's the Empress. And, the Empress is life affirming, life sustaining, creative. And I guess the thing is, our side will just have to be creative to match the creativity of the other side. We can't just sit on this. We can't just sleep on this, as Violetta would say. Um, we have to really get creative about how we can counter this disenfranchisement. Otherwise, we're in a world of hurt come the midterms. So that was not good. Uh, we won't know the outcome until after the new year. So, anything can happen between now and then. Uh, but I think the pundits are correct. It looks like the court is inclined to gut that second um, piece in the Voting Rights Act, and that's the one that allows for districting to account for the race of the people who are voting. And obviously, these are cornered rats. We are, in terms of population census, we will quickly be outnumbering them. And so, you know, the great replacement theory, they're terrified of what that could mean. You only would need to be terrified if you felt guilty about doing something, which, I mean, the good things to be guilty about, that they are guilty of. So this is the long game. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so we just have to hold on and you know, hope for the best. I think I'll come back tomorrow. I'm writing my Substack piece. So if you are a subscriber over there, it's $5 a month or $50 a year. You can read my latest article if you go there tomorrow, because I'm going to write. Friday, I will come and take a long look at how Saturday will go. Saturday, of course, is No King's Day. It's the No King demonstrations. The felon has said that he has heard that there will be a very low turnout, a very low energy crowd. We already know that that's not true. That's not going to happen. But I'm going to take a look Friday at how things will go. So look for that. And you know, we just have to, it's not over till it's over, and we have to hang in there. Let me look at one last thing, which is the shutdown, which I foresaw would last a minimum of 3 weeks. We are entering that home stretch now, and um, I think I'll use the coffin for the shutdown and see whether there's any movement. Fortunately, the Dems are not budging on their insistence that the ACA be kept and that people's premiums not go through the roof. So that's great. Uh, but let's look at the shutdown. Okay, so we're going to use the coffin for the shutdown. Okay, so we have the bouquet, the book, coffin, this stands for the shutdown, the letter, and the tower. And I only drew clarifiers on a couple of these cards. So, this is the prize. Who's going to be the winner? You know, it remains to be seen. The book is about things we don't know. Uh, the coffin in the center stands for the shutdown. And, these are the terms. The Dems aren't moving. The Republicans aren't moving because A, they don't want the Epstein files released, uh, which would happen. And the final card, of course, is the tower, the government. But I also think I want to say that the prize goes to whoever can hold out the longest. This is the card of government, but not in this case. Here it's the card of sort of autonomy and independence and standing your ground, as they say. Who will do that? The Republicans or the Democrats? Whoever can stand their ground, whoever can hold out the longest will get the prize. So I drew clarifiers on the shutdown itself, and I got the whip, the key, and the mountain. So it's not going to stop. It's not going to end anytime soon. Um, both sides are disciplined in the sense that Mike Johnson's gotten his orders from the White House, and the White House has said, do not settle, do not settle, do not settle. And he's got them whipped. On the other side, you've got the Democrats who have decided that healthcare is the hill that they're going to die on, and they are disciplined and focused, and nobody's stepping out of line, which is great. That's key. That's really important to blocking what the Republicans want to do. So both sides are very dug in this moment, in this current moment, because that's what that center line is about. And then I drew cards also on the tower. And remember, this is the card for, whoever holds out the longest. And we have birds and child, and I'll hold off on the last clarifier. I'll talk about it in a minute. So there are meetings, people are talking, and it's not just Republicans talking to Republicans and Democrats talking to Democrats. I mean, people are people in the streets are talking. We have no King's Day coming up. People are going to be talking to each other and you know, wanting something new, wanting something new, something that goes beyond this impasse. And I'll tell you something, I'm not mad that I see this card here. So that's the final clarifier for the tower. It's the mice. Mice, in some ways, think of it as the opposite of the tower. If this is courage and strength and just hanging in there, even if it's by your fingernails, this is fright. So, you know, I guess the question is, who's going to be the most scared? Whoever is the most scared um, loses, because the bouquet goes to whoever can create this feeling. And I'm going to say that with birds here, birds is people talking, the public getting ginned up because now people can't pay their rent, they can't pay their mortgage, they can't pay for food, et cetera, et cetera. These are people who vote. And the people who are going to be most hurt are the people in the poorest areas of the country. That happens to be the Republican areas. Oops. So the more uh, worried and angry people get, the worse that is for who? Not the Democrats, the Republicans. So I think that I cannot give you a date certain for when this will end. It will go the full 3 weeks and beyond. Whoever blinks first loses. And I think that the Republicans are going to have to blink first because people are already upset with them. Remember that once there's a blink and once the government is opened, uh, other things will happen. So people who've been laid off, even though the judge said you can't do it, you can't fire them, will they stay fired? Well, that's going to make people mad, especially because the judge said, "What are you doing? You can't fire them. You just lay them off. You can't fire them during you know, if they're fired for all time, right?" So that's one thing. Also, when they're back in session, uh, Epstein, the vote is taken on Epstein because that final Arizona congresswoman will be sworn in. Grijalda, right? Um, Adelita Grijalda, I think is her name. She will be sworn in. She will be the 118th vote that they need to have this Epstein thing go forward. So the Republicans have a lot to lose. And if they blink, they'll make their daddy mad because the felon told them don't blink. I think in the end, they will be the ones who blink. So that's good news. That's really good news. I mean, the bad news is that um, this thing's not over yet, but I think we'll win this particular battle. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, watching to the end, hyping. Again, I don't know what that exactly does, but thank you. I appreciate it. Some of you leave me tips. I appreciate that. That's very kind. And I will see you tomorrow on Substack if you read my work there. And then I'll be back on Friday to take a long look at the No Kings protest. Okay, take care.